The UN Secretary General has warned that nuclear war is within the realm of possibility. Biden advisor says that despite Putin's threats, the U.S. has not adjusted our nuclear posture. My friends, the warning is clear. We've all heard about the threat against these nuclear reactors, and now the UN Secretary General is warning nuclear weapons may rain down upon us. We have no choice. We've got to send weapons and personnel. We have to enter Ukraine and get involved in a ground war in Eastern Europe up against Russia. I'll tell you this. I don't know if I should be telling you this, but I have a source who told me Vladimir Putin has weapons of mass destruction. Now, as far as I can tell, that's cause to go invade a foreign country. We won't do it, of course, because we actually do fear weapons of mass destruction, which I find so interesting because right now you've got all these sources talking about the real possibility of nuclear war. I think it's exaggerated. I think it's possible. There's certainly been many people who have told me it won't happen. Nuclear war can't happen, mutually assured destruction. And I'm like, I think that's silly. Like the idea that Vladimir Putin is going to be like, we are losing war, quick, nuke New York. It's like, why would they do that? They might use nukes on like select military targets to try and win a war. But I don't think they would arbitrarily just start bombing major, civilian population centers. Although truth be told, if the war does escalate to a certain point, I totally understand where that does come in. Right now, I would say this. We're nowhere near the idea of mutually assured destruction. But we keep hearing about its possibility, and we keep hearing, people as trying to entertain this idea that, Russia, oh no, now they're bombing close to NATO territory. I'm going to tell you this. All right. They want war. They do. They knew the invasion was coming. I didn't believe them. I didn't. Because I thought they wanted war. I'm like, I was right about that. Now think about this. If NATO knew the invasion was coming, couldn't they have taken actions beforehand to secure certain areas of Ukraine, to provide weapons, resources, or personnel, and thus make the actions of Putin the actions that would cross the line? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. What I will say is you've got a real possibility of nuclear war, in my opinion. But nuclear war is not going to be like in a movie. It's not going to be a bunch of ICBMs flying through the air and crossing paths in outer space or in the stratosphere or whatever. It's going to be right now, nuclear war will begin in a more realistic approach, and that is likely nuclear artillery, tactical usage. You're going to see maybe gravity bombs over military targets, nuclear weapons being used of a lower yield in an effort to wipe out airports or military weapons depots and things like that. You're not going to see Russia launch an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile from Russia, and then target the United States or anything like that. That would be insane. Although, there is the theory that Vladimir Putin is dying, and there are some photos I've seen of the guy, and he does not look that well. I mean, seriously, he does look like something's wrong. I don't know, though. I don't know for sure. What I can say is be wary of fear-mongering. I don't know exactly what will happen. I do know that Estonia now is the first NATO country to call for a no-fly zone over Ukraine, which is a NATO country effectively calling for war on Russia. Because Russian fighters are flying over Ukraine right now. The videos are kind of crazy, man. I think I was watching fighters over Donetsk. I'm not sure. And we also have bipartisan support for transferring MiG fighter jets to the Ukrainians. You have politicians in the U.S., Lindsey Graham, I think it was Graham, someone was saying like, oh, it won't be World War III, just give the weapons to the Ukrainians. And I'm like, Vladimir Putin is warning that anybody who intervenes will be attacked. And if we start delivering weapons, we will be subject to attack. So you know what? There's the big question of whether or not they're trying to scare us into a potential World War III, either to deter us from going to war, and then here's the challenge, or to encourage us. Because that's also a possibility. You come out and you say, Putin's got nukes and he'll use them. We got to stop him now. Or they say, Putin's got nukes and he'll use them. We better not go anywhere near it. I don't know for sure. I really, really don't. Sorry, I can't give you the answers. You're going to have to figure that one out for yourself. What I can tell you is they're lying to you. Oh, and you're going to love this one. You know how when you talk about buying emergency food, people laugh? Not everybody, no, truth be told. So I will shout out safeandreadymeals.com, which I will in a minute, to be completely honest. And I'll tell you why. Typically, when there's some good reason or something happening in the news, I think there's a potential disaster, I like to give a shout out to emergency food supplies, mostly because I think you should have some. But what happens when certain people? So like Seamus, I believe Seamus from Freedom Tunes, he has a similar link, and there's a bunch of other creators who do shout outs for these emergency food supplies over at safeandreadymeals.com. And what we see from the left is mockery. Let me show you this. Daily Mail. Potassium iodide tablets sell out in U.S. over fears of nuclear war with Russia, with $14 packets now selling for $149 on eBay. Truth be told, I bought potassium iodide a long time ago. Back when I was in Los Angeles when the Fukushima disaster happened, and within hours, potassium iodide had sold out everywhere. Here's what I find fascinating. We did not have a nuclear reactor explosion. We did have news about it. We do not have nuclear war, but we do have news about it. So it's really fascinating to me that when you would say something, or I would say something about maybe you should have some emergency food supplies, the average person, well, the average person probably says nothing, but you have that contingent of people mocking the idea. What are you, a prepper? What are you going to do, 30-year beans? I actually have a lot of 30-year beans. This is what I find fascinating, though. Something happens behind the scenes. People don't want you to know. How many of your friends will admit to rushing out to the store to buy potassium iodide tablets? I mean, honestly, what do you think? I don't know. Maybe you live in an area where most people are going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, I definitely bought some. Potassium iodide it's basically an iodine supplement. When a radioactive iodine, I think, what is it? Iodine 131, I'm not sure. When there's like a nuclear reactor explosion, there's a couple different particles. Iodine, radioactive iodine, is light, which means it can travel very far through the air or on water. And when it gets to you, it goes into your thyroid and causes mutations and damage. If you take a potassium iodide tablet, your body supplements all the iodine you need and rejects the radioactive version that's coming in. You can only take so much because you don't want to take too much, but that's basically the idea here. Let me do this. Legit shout out to safeandreadymeals.com. And this is what I thought about. Safe and Ready Meals, this is a promo spot. When you buy this, you help support the show. I've been doing shout outs for them a little bit more than usual because of the conflict. But I remember seeing these leftists mock the idea that I was telling people to please have some emergency supplies. You want water, you want a first aid kit, you want a survival guide, you want a flashlight, you want a bug out kit, rain matches, and you want some food. Why? These people who live in cities, they believe that nothing bad could ever happen. And that's the craziest thing to me. There are floods. I remember I was in New York when it flooded. Like, wouldn't you like to have some emergency supplies in the event that the streets are flooded and the power's out for a couple of weeks? Granted, New York very quickly recovered everything. But this is the kind of stuff, this is a 25-year shelf life emergency food over at safeandreadymeals.com. And you put it in your closet and you forget about it. And I, again, will absolutely add to that. Pick up a flashlight, get some rope. No, seriously, you never know. You might need to tow something. Rope's good. And the idea is you never use it. You don't. They're called emergency supplies for a reason. In the event there's a real disaster, you're supposed to resist at all costs using this stuff. So if there is like an actual nuclear conflict or whatever, you don't touch it until you're actually starving and you have no choice. In the meantime, you're trying to figure out other ways to secure food and never tap into your emergency reserves. But it's there for you. Here's what I find fascinating. When push comes to shove, behind the scenes, people, they may mock you. They may laugh at you and say, why are you buying emergency beans? And then as soon as you're not looking, they run to the store and they buy potassium iodide. Let me tell you something. The likelihood you're going to need to buy potassium iodide, slim to none. Yet this sells out. It makes you think a little bit. And when I saw that, I was just like, man, many of these same people, I was in Los Angeles when Fukushima happened. These are city urban liberal types in Los Angeles. And potassium iodide had been sold out everywhere. Because when the news actually hits, they're not going to say anything. They're just going to be like, quick, go get it. We need it. It should be, we need it for us. Take a look at this. Americans are panic buying potassium iodide tablets over fears of a possible nuclear war with Russia, despite warnings from the CDC that taking too many of the anti-radiation pills can be deadly. Let me tell you something. So there's a couple different heavy particles to worry about. This was particularly with Fukushima. It was iodine, cesium, and mox plutonium. These are particulates that get up in the air, and they're radioactive particulates. So they emit, they're alpha and beta particles. When you wear a radiation suit, what this radiation suit does is it does not stop gamma wave radiation from entering your body. It stops particles from getting on your skin or in your mouth and nose. I went to Fukushima. Maybe I'll come to regret that in 20 years or so when my thyroid explodes or something. But I went there and they gave us hazmat suits. They're basically, they were cloth suits with gloves, and you wear goggles and stuff, and masks. So when the radioactive particles land on you, you take it all off in a proper fashion in a decontamination zone. It's a little building, and they come up to you and they help you take it off because you don't want to touch it. You take it, what is it called? Doffing. You take it off in a way that the suit is folded inside out, balled up, and thrown in the trash. That keeps particles off you. Mostly out there, there's heavier particles like cesium or mox plutonium are on the ground, and I think mox plutonium sinks. And the cesium, I think, might float on the surface of the water. I'm not sure. But the iodine travels in the air. That's why you would buy this. So I would like to let you all know. Me personally, I got a lot of potassium iodide. Absolutely. But we have a lot of emergency supplies. We have rope. We have grappling hooks. We have emergency fuel generator. We have emergency solar batteries. It's because I live in the middle of nowhere. Relatively. I mean, we're like 50 miles outside of DC, but we're on top of a mountain. And if there was a major disaster or a power outage, we need to make sure that we're going to be able to take care of up to 30 people who work in and out, who come in and out of this building, and we can operate the business. Most of the utilities we have in this house, like our water pumps, can be operated with our emergency backup solar batteries. It's awesome stuff. And at Freedomistan, our new headquarters, we're actually getting, panels installed. So we're gonna be able to generate, all around power. Right now, the emergency solar batteries, you got to put them outside and all that stuff. Potassium iodide will help you if there's radioactive iodine in the atmosphere. That's about it. If there was a nuclear war, I mean, I guess it's better to have than nothing. But people buying this shows, they don't care if they need it. They don't care if it makes sense. You're just better off having it. And that's true too. So to all those people who like to mock the idea of preppers, as soon as they get the slightest scare, they run full speed to the store and they buy all of it up. Cool. You go ahead and make fun of me because I bought emergency food, a year ago, back when it was way cheaper too, because inflation is also an issue. I'm going to sit back with my friends and be like, we're good. We took care of this a while ago. We don't got to worry about a 10-fold price increase. Take a look at this. It's prompted a surge in demand for the pills, which can counteract the effects of radiation poisoning. That is not true. Manufacturer IOSAT is sold out of the $14 packs of the pills, which identical tablets are now at $149 on eBay. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll take the massive amount of these pills that I bought when they were being sold for nothing. They do not reverse the effects of radiation poisoning. They prevent radioactive iodine from getting in your thyroid. I'll tell you this, I'm not a doctor. Fact check me on that one, but I certainly believe that's wrong. Whole food stores were forced to erect signs warning people that taking too many of the pills was dangerous. That's right. You can only take it for a little bit. They say radioactive iodide is known to harm the thyroid, an endocrine gland in the neck that produces hormones that regulate the body. Once it's released into the atmosphere, it can be breathed into the lungs and contaminate local water, soil, plants, and animals, according to the CDC. Look at this, Whole Foods. Extremely high dosage milligram amounts of potassium iodide are unacceptable in dietary supplements at Whole Foods market, since such products are FDA-approved drugs that should only be taken under the guidance of a healthcare practitioner. I'll let you in another secret, my friends. There's something else you can do. Eat table salt. I'm not kidding. Table salt has iodine in it. The point of potassium iodide is you're just supplementing it to make sure your body is maxed out. So when people rush to the store buying it, they think it's some kind of look at this. Potassium iodide, you got yours, Doomsday Preppers of South Carolina. Well, they posted on the 28th. Good for them, I suppose. Look at... Sorry. The Daily Mail just posted a stock photo of a flaming mushroom cloud. Great. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has continued to stoke fears of a radioactive fallout following an attack on one of Kiev's nuclear plants or even a nuclear bomb. Absolutely incredible. If radiation exposure were to happen, the thyroid gland would not be able to notice the difference between radioiodine and regular iodine and will absorb both, with too much exposure leading to a cause of thyroid cancer. Absolutely. But when it's used as directed, potassium iodide can quickly saturate the thyroid, successfully preventing it from absorbing radioactive iodine. There you go. CNN has reported the manufacturers of potassium iodine in the U.S. have recorded rapidly depleted inventories recently in light of Russia's invasion since the 24th. Meanwhile, prices for tablets have been gouged to meet growing demand. On eBay, 4 boxes were listed at $150. Oh, okay, so it's not a tenfold increase. There you go. Another listing of 130 milligram pills at $89 each. Jeez, man. The agency added that taking more of the recommended dose does not offer more protection and can actually cause severe illness or death. There's no cure for radiation poisoning. There's nothing. I mean, well, that's technically not true, but for the most part is serious radiation damage. It's like ripping apart your DNA. Your body then starts replicating incorrectly and you start dying, depending on how severe the radiation poisoning is. This is like to prevent thyroid cancer later on in life. So I went to Fukushima, and what I was told, because man, how old were we at the time? What was this, like 6-7 years ago? It was like late 20s. I was told it was actually a really bad idea. They said, what you got to first of all, you'll probably be safe. The ground radiation was 200 times background. They said, what will happen is if you breathe in the radioactive iodine particles, it'll get in your thyroid and it will cause damage to your DNA and it'll cause errors in cellular replication. If the damage is too great, your body can't get rid of the damaged cells, then within, 15 or 20 years, you might get thyroid cancer. The older people who are with us, they said they're probably fine. The older you are, the less likely you are to suffer serious effects from this kind of radiation, even at certain, high levels. Now, of course, if you go into the reactor plant, you're blasted by waves of gamma radiation, you're going to die within hours or within a few days. Or if you're poisoned with, say, like polonium, yeah, your days are numbered. I will say this, though. The woman who brought us into Fukushima, man, rest in peace. Yeah, seriously, she was an awesome woman. She was a friend of a friend. She showed us around. I sang. We did a duet at a karaoke bar, and she passed away from cancer. So I remember getting an email a few years ago. Sad story. It was an awesome trip. I went there with Luke of We Are Change, Luke Rutkowski, and it was a really interesting trip to see the damage from the fallout. And I can't say that I'm surprised. When we went in there with our suits on, she wasn't as worried about it. And she said she was old and the older people aren't as much at risk, but that they just weren't as concerned. But she went in there a lot and she ended up getting cancer and dying. It may not have been related, truth be told. Seriously, it may not have been related. She was just, a bit older. But sad stories, man. It's dangerous stuff. You got to take it seriously. Hopefully, I don't end up paying a price for going out there. And, well, Luke and I are about the same age. After we got back, we got scans of our thyroids as part of the trip. And, we were told it wouldn't really matter because we just went there and left. You're not going to see any damage to your thyroid, but maybe it's time you go get a checkup or anything. Truth be told, I feel completely fine. I'm not suffering any ill effects, so I have no symptoms of any kind of issues. But it's possible that I could be 60 years old and then finally see something happen. And that's the reality of going into a place like that. Right now, there's reporting that there's a Fox News reporter who has been seriously injured, and scary, man. I hope they're going to be okay. Actually, let me pull this up. Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall seriously injured. We don't know too much about what's going on, but man, I hope he's okay. I hope seriously injured. So not critically, but seriously may mean like long-lasting effects. People got to understand when you want to go out there and get that information, you want to be on the ground. Some people are willing to risk their lives to make that happen. When I was younger, I thought about the various roles that tribal humans had and what people like to do. And there are some people who are warriors. They get ripped. They want to go out. They want to fight. They want to challenge. They want to stand up for what they believe in. Some people were scouts. They wanted to explore and discover and share that knowledge. And I always loved the idea of going on an adventure. And I was like, I'm not the kind of guy who wants to pick up a spear and a shield and then fight the bear off. I'm the kind of guy who wants to get on the horse and ride out into the wilderness and then report back what I see, make sure everyone's got accurate information so we can move quickly and strategically and things like that. And I think about the risks that come along with it, going out into the wilderness, into the wild, risking your life to make sure that people can know what's happening. And that's what we get here. For me and Luke, we wanted to tell people what had happened. They had just started in Fukushima bringing people back into the red zone. So they were like reclaiming certain parts of Fukushima. And I was like, we should go in there. And, I think it was close to the anniversary. Oh, no, it wasn't close to the anniversary. I was like, but we should go in there and talk to people and see what the damage that happened and, explore this. And there's a risk. And we knew it. I've been on the ground in conflict. I was in Ukraine several years ago. This is the price you pay when you want to be on the ground and get out accurate information. And it's sad, really, because we look at the mainstream press and they're not journalists. They sit in offices in New York and they lie to you all day, every day. They regurgitate lies. They facilitate lies. And then you have people like Benjamin Hall who actually go out on the ground to report what's happening and get seriously injured. So to everybody who's out there reporting, doing, trying to get that information out, stay safe, everybody. I really do hope that doesn't come to nuclear war. But I'll let you guys know. Maybe it's a good idea to have emergency supplies. I should say definitely it's a good idea to have any kind of emergency supply. But maybe it's a good idea to have some potassium iodide if you can get it. Just know what you're doing. Don't just buy these pills because other people bought them. That's why I'm like, emergency food is simple, man. You crack open a bag, you pour some water out, you heat it up, you got food. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes there's tornadoes. You need to eat. But the one thing that really got to me with this, when I was reading the story, is how they'll laugh at you to your face, and then as soon as you feel stupid, as soon as you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't buy this stuff, they jump in their car, drive full speed to the Whole Foods to buy up all the potassium iodide. But you're crazy. You think you realize what this is, right? They're laughing at you because, well, for much of these people, they're a mob, they're a cult. It's just whatever the mob says, we're all going to go along with. But many of these people are laughing at you, hoping that you don't go out and buy it so they can get your share. You got 2 packs left, and they see you. They're going to make fun of you. What are you, crazy prepper? You don't need to buy that. And you go, yeah, okay, I guess. Then they run full speed to the store and they buy it up. Humans, man. Humans. Anybody telling you not to have emergency supplies or be prepared for the worst is setting up for failure. Those who do not plan, what is the saying? Failure to plan is planning for failure. There you go. I don't think nuclear war is going to happen. It's possible. I didn't think the invasion was going to happen. It happened. Maybe Vladimir Putin is on his deathbed and he says, I will not allow this. And he says, fire the nukes. It is better that, what if he thinks a nuclear wasteland is better than whatever it is the U.S. is doing? We don't know. They've got those weapons of mass destruction. Take care of yourself, your friends, and your family. If you're going to spend, look, the emergency food stuff can go for anywhere from like $100 to like $700, depending on how big of a supply you're getting. And if it's something you buy one time and put in your closet and forget about, and that's it, it's an investment in your life. Potassium iodide, much the same. Don't freak out and panic buy any of this stuff. But if you buy it one time, put it in your cabinet and forget about it, are you better off? Yes. The same is true for having some alcohol swab, some hydrogen peroxide, some mouthwash, a grappling hook. When are you ever going to use a grappling hook? I know, right? Almost never. Until you actually need to not scale a wall, but hitch a rope to a log so that you can pull out of your driveway. Let's say you live in a rural area. Let's say you're driving through a rural area and a tree falls down and you got a vehicle that could probably pull that log, but you need rope. Do you even have, you probably don't have a winch. Do you have, something to hook onto your frame? You never know. But here's the main point. How much is that rope going to cost you? $20? And then one day you come across a log in the road and it's storming and you're like, we got to get out of here, but we can't. This tree has fallen down. And someone's like, good thing I threw rope in the trunk. You tie it to the frame, you tie it to the tree, and you try and get out of the way. Maybe your car can't handle it, but you're better off trying. Talk to experts about stuff like that, truth be told. What we did is I bought a Jeep, and we're getting a winch installed on it because we live out in the middle of nowhere. We've already had several trees fall that we've been unable to move, and I'm like, that's a problem. We can't get out the driveway. What do we do? Fortunately, we have urban services. Or I shouldn't say urban, but we have services nearby. We make a phone call, and within an hour, they come and they pull the tree off the driveway, and we're like, that was crazy. Because we have the one path. I said, we better be able to do this ourselves. So we got a truck, we got rope, and now we're getting a winch installed on our Jeep because I'm like, we need to be able to pull this out of the way. We need to be able to pull stuff if we have to, or even help other people and pull them out of ditches. It's not just about yourself, man. Think about others. I don't know what's right for you. You figure it out. Nuclear war, maybe it's fear-mongering, truth be told. Decide for yourself. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.